what's up everybody? Welcome to the second edition of Females of the Squared Circle. My name is Ollie Harper and this week we on a roll. I hope you all enjoyed episode 1. I know it was getting that out there, of course. Leah Von Dutch kicking off the new year, a new era on this brand new project that we are bringing to this channel. Hopefully you guys want to come along for the ride, because on this series we are looking at only the top female wrestlers from around the world. Now joining me on the show this week is a lady who has had quite the career so far, no doubt about it. She started off on WWE Tough Enough in 2011. She would go on to get a WWE developmental deal. She was on the new NXT. She's been in the ring with people like Paige and Emma, great ladies down there right now. She's also a former TNA Gutcheck contestant, just losing out to Lady Tapper. I mean, both ladies put on one hell of a performance that night, and it was just so damn tight. I remember when Al Snow even said it on the season finale of season 2 of the Gorilla Report, just how tight it was to, both ladies match to match. But of course, this lady also competes for great promotions such as Shimmer, Shine Wrestling. I know I'll talk about these promotions, but a lot of the guests that we are getting on this new series have been in them promotions. Joining me on the show this week is none other than the Huntress Ivelisse Velez. That is right, Ivelisse Velez. I'm a big fan of this lady's work, and I was so humbled that this lady was able to take time out of her day to come on the show. That is right, Ivelisse Velez joins me next. And you know what now? Let's just show you again a little bit about what Ivelisse is all about. She's coming up next on Females of the Squared Circle. We'll be back in just a little bit. Right guys, we are now back on the Gorilla Report presents Females of the Squared Circle, and I am now joined by a lady who is doing some absolutely excellent things in the independents in the United States right now. Of course, she's competed for promotions such as AAA, she's also competed for promotions as Shine Wrestling, and of course also a TNA Gutcheck contestant. This lady is doing some very good things right now. I am joined by none other than Ivelisse Velez. Welcome to the Gorilla Report. Hey! No problem, no problem. It's very much nice to have you on. Been quite a fan of yours, of your work as of late. It's very much humbled that you took the time out of your day for coming on the show. And let's start this interview. So, your early growing up. Let's talk about your early growing up. How was early growing up for you?
In Puerto Rico? Yeah. Well, in terms of wrestling or just my personal life?
Well, I mean, your early growing up, your early background. How was the early background for you?
Well, I was always in sports.
Okay.
I did cross country, basketball, volleyball. I pretty much tried every sport I possibly could until eventually I became interested in wrestling. I was an honor student always.
Yeah.
But I hated school. Hey kids, don't listen. Cover your ears. Yeah, I hated school, yet I was always in honor classes and advanced classes and blah blah. I actually gave up scholarship opportunities to pursue wrestling after I graduated high school. Okay. A decision that to this day I still kind of question, but oh well. It's what I love to do, so. Yeah. That's pretty much it of what I would like to.
No, that's cool. No, that's absolutely fine.
Touch on my.
No, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. So your discovery of professional wrestling, then. What age were you when professional wrestling became something in your life that you were like, hey, you know what, I'm enjoying this as a fan?
I would always watch it with my brother or my uncles, and my brother was obsessed with wrestling, a huge wrestling fan. He always had the video games and everything, and I was always exposed to it since very young. But I would say around around 15, which is when I actually went for it, is when I said in my head, well, I'm an athletic girl. I am, I'm very athletic, so I would look at it and be like, you know what, I could do that. I could do that.
Yeah.
And why not? I could do it and better. So I was like determined. I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and I just went into the sunset against all odds against me. I didn't know anybody that was involved in wrestling. I didn't have any family that was involved in wrestling. It was a completely impossible dream to achieve, but I went for it anyway.
Fantastic. Now, say some inspirations like female wrestlers or just wrestlers in general that you looked to and you were like, these athletes are really bringing it, and these are people that you really looked up to. Name me a couple of professional wrestlers that you looked at as inspirations.
Well, I always, when I would watch wrestling with my brother, I wasn't, I usually wouldn't be very into, the women's stuff, because it was always, demeaning, just, showing their arse.
British.
And all that, and I was like, that's not interesting to me whatsoever. So I was very, I would watch, for sure, Austin and but once the era where Trish and Jazz came into the picture, and Victoria and Lita and all of that, once that came into the picture and started going about, then that's when I became more interested in the females wrestling, and it inspired me. I would say a little bit of each one inspired me, because I can't really say just one person. Just how they would go out there and wrestle and put on a show, just as the guys would. That's what inspired me. Even to the point when I can even say it, that one moment when I saw Trish and Lita main event on Raw for the first time, women's main eventing on Raw for the first time. To me, that was it. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to try to do that again. I want to do that, and that was my inspiration.
Fantastic. Well, another thing, obviously, I want to talk about also, of course, is Tough Enough. Now, I know Tough Enough had an original run, starting in 2001, won by Maven Huffman, as well as, I think they had Nidia and Maven winning. Was done by Al Snow, the original series. Had you seen the original series before you wanted to apply for the brand new show, which was run by, of course, hosted by Stone Cold Steve Austin? There was, of course, trainers like Booker T and Trish.
I actually had no idea, or maybe I had, but I didn't remember. I knew of one. I remember the only one I knew about, actually, now that I remember. The only one I knew about was of Jackie, the one that Jackie Gaida was in, or whatever, Shanika, them two that they won. That's actually the only one that I remember seeing, and that was quite a long time ago. Before or after that, I wasn't aware. That was an opportunity that came at a moment that I was very close of not, just saying screw you wrestling, and I was actually going to venture into MMA. And then I got the call, and actually it was a mixture. I saw the ad, and I was like, I don't know. So I did it anyway, and then I sent my tape to whatever it was, and then at the same time, within that same week or that same time frame, a day after or something, they had contacted me through Facebook and told me, we're interested, we like your look, we think you'd be great, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, I already sent it, I already set up something, fantastic, even better. And I was like, cool. So
now, one thing I want to ask you also, with the new Tough Enough, which was brought in, of course, that you were part of in 2011, the show itself, was everything we saw on camera, was every single part of that real? Was there ever any time where things were happening on that show that there was a little bit of a script going on, where they were just trying to get you guys in situations, or was everything we were seeing 100% real? You know what I'm saying? Like reality TV.
I mean, I would say that everything that you saw was real, but the way you edit things is very powerful.
Yeah.
It's very easy to edit it in a way to make it look a different way, even though, you know, all of it is real. Like there wasn't any, they didn't script like anything when it came to us that I'm aware of. Sure. At least that I am aware of. And I mean, other than like whatever activities they had and the schedule that they had to film everything, other than that, I can't say that it was scripted. But like I said, editing is a very powerful tool.
Yeah, sure. Now, of course, also you was actually you unfortunately suffered quite the injury on the show. Would you like to just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I went to the doctor during that. They never showed me going to the doctor and telling them how bad my injury was. I kind of, people just kind of thought I was just being a wimp. When I was injured for about a week and a half and making it worse and aggravating it and still hanging in there, and, you know, I actually had a torn abductor muscle to grade 2 on its way to grade 3, or that would be where I would require surgery. So yeah, it was pretty bad, and I was still up there on that turnbuckle doing squats and still lasting more than everyone. So it's like, it kind of sucked that the way that it was viewed by the public wasn't 100% the way that it should have. But whatever, it's
so sure. And of course, this is again where you emphasize the point of this whole editing as a very powerful thing, and I'm guessing, you know, you wish in a lot of ways they would have shown, of course, your genuine concern for this injury. You know, you were pissed off. You wanted this opportunity more than anybody on the show, and you know, and when they're not really showing that you're there, you're fighting, you want this more than anybody, and they're not even showing that. I bet it was quite a you know.
That's really the only thing. Yeah, that's really the only thing that I wish that it's like, come on, like, why not show how bad my injury was so people can comprehend where I'm coming from. And still, I wasn't even really complaining. I was just frustrated. I wasn't like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it. I still did it every single time. Whatever they asked of me, I still did it. With a whatever boo boo face on my face that Demont would love to talk about, boo boo face. I had a boo boo on my face. Yeah, I had a boo boo face, but it's because I'm pushing through this messed up injury that is tearing my leg off. So they didn't show that. So and it was really weird because I don't think that the trainers knew how bad my injury was. I don't think they knew that I had gone to the doctor and the diagnosis of the doctor. I don't think they knew. And if they did, then they did a really good job at kayfabing it. And not, you know, but I don't really think they knew. They just thought I was just, you know, I don't think they knew how injured I was. But
another thing I want to ask you, of course, it was, you know, it was a competition at the end of the day. Every single one of you were in there fighting for that World Wrestling Entertainment contract. And have you ever been able to really stay in touch with any of the other guests, the people like Jeremiah, Andy Levine, anybody like that, Luke, anybody that you kept in contact with?
Well, I've come across Andy in the Indies when I went to Puerto Rico. He's wrestling in Puerto Rico. I came across Andy. Oh, I also saw him in New York a while back too, not long ago. I'd say a couple months ago. I have not been very much in contact with Jeremiah or the
Luke.
What was her name? No, Luke. Here and there, very rarely. The girl that, what was her name?
Was it Rima? The
No.
Queen, Rima.
Well, I had talked to her afterwards a couple times, and when I was in WWE, I saw her at the WrestleMania event and all that. The girl who said she had 11 years of experience, what was her name?
Oh, God. Top of my head. Oh, forget. My mind's blank.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle, I have not talked to her once since that. I am in contact with, I still stay in contact with Eric.
Yeah, oh, yes. Eric, yes.
Martin, rarely. I'd say I stay in contact with a couple.
Okay. Very cool, very cool. Now, so let's talk about, of course, the contract, the developmental contract. How did this all come about with them actually getting back to you with this offer of a developmental contract with them?
Well, when the whole WWE Tough Enough thing was going on, every time that we were in a WWE like event or whatever, I was always trying to make sure I would network, would ask, and and be very persistent, as in like I want that contract, even though I obviously I didn't win it, but I knew I had everything to have it. So I was very networking and everything, and I made sure I had what I need to, or who I had to contact.
Yeah.
And I was always on it, and then until they said yes.
Now, of course, when you did get this, when you got the offer, of course you went down to FCW. Of course, you're given the name Sofia Cortez. Sofia Cortez. Talk through the name. Who came up with the idea of this name for you?
That was me.
Okay.
I actually had other names that were a lot more cool.
Yeah.
They were a lot cooler. What they would tell me is like they're too long, and they're usually Spanish names are long.
Yeah.
But they're cool. So they're like, oh, they're too long, it has to be short, or the people won't understand it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, damn it. So I just had to come up with the most simple name, Spanish name possible. And I wanted it to be Spanish.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me, like, oh, come up with a Spanish name. I wanted to have the Spanish name because I was very clear always that I wanted to target the Spanish universe within the universe.
Yeah.
And because it is quite a large one. So yeah.
Oh, tremendous. And of course, you was also a part of the new NXT, of course, and very much as shown, Triple H very much had a very big part in the bringing in the new NXT and really focusing on that for this new crop of people to get up to the main roster. Your experiences in the new NXT, please.
It was awesome, actually. Like the transition from FCW to NXT was huge, and there was such excitement in the air as it was starting off and everything, and it was just awesome. And me being the first one out of all of them to have like the most focus when it first kicked off.
Yeah.
Like me and Paige were the first ones to have the first Divas match, and I won and everything, and that like set the pace, and then I wrestled Natalia, which was big, and
of course,
and then I won Natalia, which was whoa, okay. So I felt really good at that time because I felt like, okay, well, they're trusting me with these things, and finally, I felt great. And then I wrestled Tamina.
Ah, yes. Tamina's
and then to me it felt like a pretty good start.
Yeah, of course.
To me. And I was really excited, and right out of nowhere, bam.
And one thing I also want to ask you, of course, with the NXT brand, you know, a lot of the guys, you know, the current guys were getting sent down there to help the up-and-comers, such as yourself. What was some of the best advice that you got off one of the main WWE roster guys that would come down? What was some of the best advice that you were given?
Of the guys?
Well, guys and the girls, if any, you know.
Well, I would say advice regarding to politics were the most, especially the ones that I most needed, because it's just so political.
Yeah.
It's like not even, there's no way I could describe
Sure.
fully like how political it is. And I really, I mean, at that time, Carly, Maxine had just like left because she didn't feel like she was happy at that time and everything. So it's kind of like a mixture of a lot of things. And then a lot of the girls were leaving too, like Kelly had left, Eve and all that. Like it was a mixture of two completely opposite things. Like here's here's certain people saying, you know, you gotta be like this, gotta be like that, gotta be like this, gotta be like that, and then here's other people that are like leaving because they're not happy the way that things are, and it's just like, Yeah,
I can imagine.
And then those changes happening as well, like new head coach and new, you know, full sale, just a bunch of things. It was quite a chaotic time.
One thing I want to ask you also, now we do this all the time with the guests when we have them on, we're going to play a little game called Word Affiliation. I'm going to name some talents that you've worked with, and you can give me one sentence, one thought that comes to your mind, and I'm going to probably do about 5 or 6, and let's see where we go. So the first one that comes to my mind is none other than Paige, of course, born and bred in England. Paige, Brittany Knight, Paige.
Young, potential, and friend.
there you go. Another one, let me think. Amber O'Neil.
Girl, that's my word affiliation. Oh, yeah, that's so funny. I'm pretty sure she hears that show. But, I would say friend also, and fun. So much fun. So funny.
Fantastic. Jim Ross.
I would say, at least with me, he really liked like my talent and like my gimmick and everything. So I would say helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Another one I'm going to say, we actually had him on the show on the season finale of last season. Al Snow.
Very, very sweet and helpful as well.
He's a very nice gentleman. I've got a lot of respect for Mr. Snow. I'm trying to think one more. William Regal.
He is awesome. Yeah. He's very knowledgeable and gentleman for sure.
Alright, okay.
Gentleman.
One more. Now, this gentleman was on the season he was on the last season, of course, the owner of Combat Zone Wrestling, Mr. DJ Hyde.
I actually haven't met him.
Have you not? Okay.
No, I haven't met him. But one word of affiliation, booking.
Okay, and we'll go with one more. We're running this pretty well. Nevaeh.
Yeah. I love Nevaeh. I would say super sweet, and she is, I would say, well, because I have known her for, like, since like the beginning that I was wrestling in Chicago.
Yeah.
And talented.
Okay. So from let's talk about the leaving of the WWE developmental contract. What actually happened? Was it them cutting you and the release? How did this all come about?
The what?
when you left the WWE, well, this developmental deal that happened, just talk me through that.
When I left, the release.
Yeah.
The release was a shock.
Yeah.
As much to me as it was to everyone around me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't due to certain circumstances that were circling me.
Okay.
Throughout towards the end of right before I got released. But it's things that I can't really talk about.
No, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
But yeah, it was definitely a shocker to me just as much as it was to everyone else, because I felt that regardless of things that were going on, I felt like when someone brings so much to the table for one little thing, and one person making it like that, and that completely overshadows everything else the one person brings to the table, that to me is where the shock came.
Sure.
Shock factor came, and yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely fine, no problem. Now, let's talk about some of your times on the independents. Talk about your experiences on the independents, please. Different places you've competed, such as places like AAA, Shine Wrestling. Let's talk about some of these experiences for you.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to be part of Shine Wrestling, which has been super awesome for me. It's the first time I was involved, or it's the first time being involved in an all-women's setting thing for me. So it's definitely something new, and it's been a great experience, and super comfortable, super fun. And I also had the opportunity to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Thanks to Perros del Mal the first time, and the second time with WWL, which is an upcoming wrestling promotion from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And also I've had the opportunity to wrestle with FWE in New York.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ever since first time I stepped foot there, they've been nothing but professional and sweet, and I love working there as well. Let me see. I think that should cover.
No, that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Now, I also want to talk about, of course. Now we're going to touch on, of course, a place where a lot of the casual viewers will definitely recognise you from. Of course, is none other than the TNA Gutcheck. Now, it was around a year ago, so your opponent, of course, for that night was, of course, none other than Lady Tapper. Now,
yeah.
The whole TNA Gutcheck thing for you, please talk me through it, in terms of what was the whole, the day of when it all went down, the taping of it, how did this all come about for you, the Gutcheck deal?
Well, I had already, I had initially contacted Al Snow for a tryout match, which I had the year before with Tara, Victoria, Lisa, around October-ish, and then to the beginning of the year, I was in Mexico with Perros del Mal, and I was contacted to do the gut check, but I was in Mexico, so they went ahead and they did a male gut check. And then after that was done, then they contacted me again, and they said we're interested in doing the contest of the gut check with you and Lady Tapa. And at that time, I had no idea who that was. So automatically, I'm like, Lady Tapa, who? And then I was like, okay, great. So I saw that she didn't have much experience. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to make the best that I can of this opportunity, regardless whether she has a lot of experience or not. So, or has none, or regardless of the amount of experience she has. So that was in Orlando. I live in Tampa, so it was pretty easy to get to. I actually had a MMA match, MMA fight scheduled, and I had to cancel that in order to do the gut check because of the date.
Yeah.
And then after that, as everything was going on, it felt pretty real in terms of I had no idea who they were gonna pick, and I obviously believed I was gonna be picked, but I felt like after getting to know her and seeing her and she had a lot of potential, even though she didn't have a lot of experience. So I felt like, okay, well, they would definitely benefit highly from both. They would definitely benefit from both. So in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe this could be the first gut check where both people get some. But no, it didn't happen that way.
I remember we actually, fortunately, we had Brian Cage on, another gentleman who, of course, did the TNA Gutcheck. He explained his experiences with, doing the whole Gutcheck thing, and he was even saying that there was times when there was a certain indication that they were quite, they were showing a little interest that, hey, we might even snap you up. Did you ever get that sort of feel off of the guys, well, the judges? Were they ever actually saying, we might actually, there's a potential here, we may actually keep in touch with you?
Even though I wouldn't get picked, or...
Well, this is, just before, obviously, they did the whole decision-making thing, was there ever, that indication they were saying, well, whatever happens, we will keep you on file, we will keep in touch with you?
Oh, yeah, to both of us.
Yeah.
They were, they're trying to be, really, whatever happens, you both deserve to be here, and blah, blah, but... I'm the Huntress, okay, and I'm very shrewd with details, so I kind of had a feeling going into the gut check when they would pick, because I noticed on Twitter that same day they had retweeted something that she had said or something, and they had followed her and not me. So it was like, I wonder, right? I'm just going to keep it at the back of my head, though. I'm still going to do it as if I didn't notice or know or anything. But once that happens,
So, the TNA product now, do you still keep in touch with the current TNA product on TV?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Twitter is a beautiful tool to keep yourself updated with things, even though you're not really watching them.
Okay. Now, one thing I want to ask you also, of course, I said this to Leah last week, that the Ivelisse character that you try and be in the ring, the Huntress, as you just said, what do you like to try and get across to the fans when you're working a match? What kind of character do you want to portray when you're out there in front of 100 people or 1,000 people? What kind of thing do you want to do?
Well, the whole character of the Huntress was based on the character of Elektra.
Okay,
which is a stealthy, cold-blooded assassin. But obviously, and I was originally trying to go for, a name that would describe that, but obviously I can't be an assassin in a ring because I can't kill, which I don't want to, but the whole point of the character is all of that, but the killing part. Very, very, very efficient.
Okay.
Efficiency, calculated, whatever a very efficient hitman or hitwoman would be, which would be a hunter. A hunter is that, but in the wilderness. But either way, it's the same connotation.
Okay. And another thing you were mentioning earlier, of course, your MMA. Your MMA background. Tell me a little bit about your passions with the mixed martial arts.
I've always loved mixed martial arts. I didn't go into it first.
Yeah.
I love the entertainment aspect of wrestling, so that's that was my first choice. But I do love and always have loved MMA. I love the art form of fighting.
Yeah.
All the techniques and everything, and just in self-defense, and the self-defense aspect of what as well. I love to feel like I'm prepared to stop anyone who's trying to do me harm.
Sure.
Or prepared to defeat anyone who tries to challenge me. So it's something that I enjoy in that aspect as well. Training in MMA has actually helped me have a pretty unique way in the ring. I love to mix what I can from MMA into the wrestling ring, and I don't know, a lot of people have enjoyed that, and a lot of people like appreciate that because it's something different. So I'm glad that I can do that. My goal since the very beginning has always been to try to be as unique as I possibly can. Absolutely. And try to be the best that I possibly can.
Fantastic. I mean, let's start wrapping up this interview now. Also, have you got any final projects, any future plugs that you want to plug for the 2014 year?
Well, Japan is definitely in the makings.
Oh, fantastic.
UK would be obviously another one that I would be working towards. But right now, the next in lineup is Japan, and it should be pretty soon. There's just certain things that I need to work out in terms of certain things, but it will be soon. And I think I might be going to Mexico again, if I'm not mistaken, and that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Well, I just want to say a very big thank you to Miss Ivelisse Velez for coming on the show today. I very much enjoyed this interview. I very much enjoyed talking about your time in the business. I wish you I wish you all the best with your future. I really hope that everything does work out for you, and I hope that Japan's such a great magical place for any professional wrestler going forward. I really do hope that all goes well for you in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. And that's about it for this week, guys. We will see you next week. You've been watching the Gorilla Report. Keep on watching your professional wrestling. We will see you next week, guys. Take care.